You've been dieting, training hard, and tracking macros for years, for months, for days now. But somehow 10% body fat always feels out of reach for you. So today we're diving into 5 research key rules to getting you there. This is without ruining your metabolism, your muscle mass, or your mental health. And I'm gonna show you the 3 most common mistakes that stop people from getting there. Let's start it. Mistake number 1 is really cutting your calories too fast and too soon. The biggest mistake is really impatience. A lot of people like to move fast, and I understand because you want to see the progress immediately. But specifically with dieting, it's better that you kind of slow down, take your time. You want to be lean now, so a lot of people will slash their calories aggressively, and then what happens is you just don't end up looking as good as you want to be at the end. If you lose muscle fast, when the calorie deficit is too steep, we're talking about like over 30%, your body's going to end up pulling fuel from its lean muscle tissue, especially if protein and training aren't optimized. So I'm talking about those intermittent fastings, or those people that do the intermittent fastings in the morning and they skip the breakfast. Especially for them, you guys are really at risk for pulling a lot of muscle too fast, too soon. So the max, we want to go for anywhere from 0.5 to 1% of body weight loss each week. More than that, it's going to be a little more unsustainable and more muscle wasting. Anything less than that, it's probably going to be too slow and you're not going to see the results as fast. So that's a pretty good indicator whether we're actually losing at a fast pace, or a good indicator whether we're actually losing it at a decent pace. And then the rebound effect of cutting calories too fast is you're going to end up losing weight too quickly, and then you're going to gain all the fat back even faster, and then you're going to be even hungrier. Your hormones are going to be out of whack, and your motivation is just going to suck, and it's probably going to collapse. And you probably don't even want to go to the gym. The minute you do step in the gym, people are going to look at you differently and think that you don't even work out anymore. You just pop in here and there, just mess around, and then you leave. Remember, fat loss isn't linear. You're going to have weeks, days where your weight is up. Sometimes it's down. But as long as you're hitting new weekly lows every single week, and I'm talking about if you're 175, let's say on a Wednesday, and then the next Wednesday comes up and you're 174.2, that's a new goal right there. You just hit a new weekly goal. So take it slow, but be consistent. Mistake number 2, just cardio over resistance training. So this is very huge, especially that people that overdo the cardio or just do cardio, thinking it's the fastest way to burn fat. Usually the trade-off with that is you're gonna sacrifice a lot of muscle mass. You're gonna end up getting that skinny fat look. Your metabolic rate is gonna compensate, it's gonna drop, and your training performance is definitely gonna drop. It's just gonna plummet, it's gonna suck. You're gonna go in there, you're gonna have the worst PRs for your bench, for your deadlift, for your squat. Everything's gonna feel way heavier and way harder for you. Muscle is really your fat loss ally, so you need that as much as you can, especially by your side. It's going to increase the metabolic rate and improve nutrient partitioning effect too, especially when you eat maybe carbohydrates before or after, because those help to fuel your muscles during high to moderate intensity workouts. Strength training is going to help maintain lean muscle mass during the calorie deficit. So strength training is going to increase muscle protein synthesis, which is going to help you maintain that lean muscle mass. Remember, cardio is just a supplement. It's great for cardiovascular health and brain benefits. I still do it on my off seasons, on the season, but don't use it as the only strategy. It's not the one and only tool. Also, if you just do cardio specifically, you're gonna create a low recovery capacity. And then if you add the high volume cardio, it's just gonna create a lot of hormonal balance. So you're gonna end up with lower testosterone, higher cortisol, worse sleep. And if your sleep is affected, you're digging yourself a ditch right there. The better approach is to have 3 to 5 resistance training sessions per week, do an upper lower split, full body splits with 2 to 3 low moderate intensity cardio sessions for heart health and recovery. Mistake number 3. It's inconsistent habits and program hopping all the time. So a lot of people like to keep switching or switch every few weeks their workout program, which isn't what you want to do. The last mistake is usually psychological inconsistency. You're gonna end up starting strong, but constantly change the program's eating styles or just the goals every few weeks. It's gonna really mess you up physically and mentally, because you're not gonna know what works and what doesn't work. Body recomposition and fat loss usually require progressive consistency. It's not perfection. So when you jump from certain diets, from keto to fasting to carb cycling, you might notice maybe towards the end of your keto and you just jumped into fasting that you think it's the fasting that's working. Maybe it's actually the keto because you're in the calorie deficit, and the fasting's only helping you to a certain extent, but you think it's the fasting because that's what you're doing at the moment. That's where it's gonna throw you off a lot. From CrossFit to powerlifting to HIIT, this is another thing too. It's best that you just keep the same program. Based on that program, you know whether you're getting stronger, your reps are getting higher, your volume, your load is increasing week by week. So all that habit stacking is gonna help you improve immensely, especially when you're dieting, and the meal time is gonna regulate your appetite. So the solution to this is you wanna stick to a structured meal plan and training program program for at least 6 to 8 weeks before adjusting. That's a pretty good time frame, 2 to 3 months, till you actually notice some type of improvement. And then tend to keep the same exercises under the same routine. So if you do bench and then a row, make sure you keep it in that order and you don't do the row first and then the bench, because sometimes you might have more energy at the beginning of the training session, so you might push out a few more reps, but you're not entirely sure if you're just getting stronger, maybe just because it's your first exercise. So sometimes like that can throw you off. So we're gonna stick to a structured meal plan training program. As I said before, log everything. So the weight, the performance, the food in the raw state, track your sleep, how your sleep is doing, your stress, your energy, your mood in the gym. It's not gonna be as good, especially as you keep dieting, but your mood at the beginning should be pretty good. I would say mid-diet, because you're seeing all the progress and seeing how well you look and seeing how great you look half naked or fully naked, that's gonna increase your motivation for a little bit, but at the end of the day, towards the end of your diet, you're gonna start losing it probably because you're sacrificing a lot of food in your belly and now you're just hungry and you're craving food all the time. So there needs to be a balance. All right, key number 1 is precision energy deficit. So let's start with the foundation of your calorie deficit. It's not too aggressive and it's not too mild. It's precision. So a rule of thumb, as I said before, is anywhere to lose 0.5 to 1% of body weight per week, according to this specific study. Anything more than that, you're probably gonna risk muscle loss and increase it even further. But also too, if you're overweight, if exercise is a new stimulus to your body and you just started your dieting program and you knew nothing about it, you're less at risk than doing it. Anything less than 0.5% of body weight loss per week, and you might not make meaningful progress to really see if there's a difference or to keep going with the diet. In which case, taking your body weight, multiplying by 10 to 20 for the calorie deficit, maintaining enough energy for training performance and hormonal health. So if you dip it too low, too fast, too quick, you're not gonna like yourself a few weeks into probably 2-3 months into the diet, and maybe you're not even at your dream body goal yet. In which case you wanna track your intake with MyFitnessPal, lose it, Macro Factor is another good one, and then adjust calories every 2 to 3 weeks based on progress. Don't base it on daily fluctuations because your weight's always gonna fluctuate. Start with a calorie deficit of 10 to 25% max. As I said, most people cut calories way too fast. We're not suffering on these diets. Some of us do, but you need precision. We're not bodybuilders in competitions. We're not trying to suffer. We're just trying to look somewhat decent for the summer, for your family, for your kids, for your health, mainly for you, but we don't have to suffer. Key number 2 is protein optimization. Once you're in that calorie deficit, many questions. How do I keep my muscle while I lose fat? So this is really where protein comes in, and that's gonna be your secret weapon. Usually the protein guidelines are anywhere from 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram a day of protein to maximize muscle protein synthesis. So we have a systematic review that they found that dietary protein supplementation significantly enhanced changes in muscle strength and size during prolonged resistance training in healthy adults. So basically, if you're about a 150-pound person, this would really equate to 109 to 150 grams of protein per day you should be hitting. For leaner individuals, it's best that you go anywhere from 0.8, we're gonna turn this to American metrics, to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight during those cuts, because protein is also gonna help satiate you. 3 to 6 meals per day, optimal to keep the muscle protein synthesis elevated. Anything less, too much food volume in your stomach, it's gonna give you more stomach discomfort, more likely than not, and it's not gonna be as spaced out. Anything more, you're gonna be too food focused, and you're not gonna really be enjoying the process. At the end of the day, total protein is really what matters, but this is probably one of the most optimal ways to do it. Eat high protein meals every 3 to 4 hours, we're basing on these guidelines. Use whey isolate or hydrolyzed turkey breast, lean meats, so we're talking about the chicken breast, chicken tenderloins, and eggs, because eggs are amazing. Pre-bed, go with the whey protein again, cottage cheese, yogurt. Protein is literally your insurance policy, because I know a lot of people like to skip that or like to skip talking about them. This is your insurance policy during your fat loss. Without it, you're gonna lose it. And it's free. There's no copay, there's no premium. Key number 3 is training during a cut. So understand that cutting is not an excuse to train soft. Don't do that at all. It's when your training really needs to be the smartest, but you still need to work hard, just as hard every single day. So you still wanna keep lifting heavy with a focus on performance. So don't start switching over your hard exercises for easier exercises, or don't start taking out all your compound lifts for only isolation lifts. Do whatever you're used to and whatever you like doing and gives you the least amount of injury risk, and then see how your progress goes from there on out. Don't chase too high reps, because if you chase too high, then your cardiovascular system is going to start to give out before your actual muscles do, and then becomes more of a cardiovascular exercise versus a building muscle hypertrophy exercise. Anything lower than that, you might increase your risk for injuries. So 5 to 30 reps is usually the sweet spot. For most people too, when they're dieting, they can generally get more reps because we have a lot more endurance because we're losing weight too. So this is really individualized. But maintain the training volume, but be ready to scale down slightly over time. So even if you want to drop your volume maybe by like a set every month just to reduce the amount of fatigue on your body, that might help you as well. Train with a 0 to 3 RIR for hypertrophy. So anywhere from 0 to 3 reps in reserve. If you're benching and you know you can get 10 reps out of 135, you either hit 7 reps, 8 reps, 9 reps, or 10 reps. I would avoid going to failure consistently, especially at the beginning, because it's going to increase a lot of fatigue without increasing growth. I think it's best done on the last set, if anything. You know, if you keep experiencing a lot of fatigue in your dieting, start dropping off the failure or going to failure. Muscle retention. So we're going to focus on the compound lifts, progressive overload, plus isolation lifts as well. Track lifts and aim to maintain the strength as much as you can. It's not going to be impossible to keep your strength. Some people sometimes gain strength, but most of the time people end up losing a decent amount. But our whole point here is to prevent as much muscle loss as we can, or as much strength as we can. Either cut volume or intensity too fast, you're gonna end up losing muscle. The body adapts what you stop doing. If you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. That applies to the knowledge, the skills, the value, the money, the strength, the muscle, everything you do in your life. Train like you're always trying to gain muscle, basically. Micronutrients and hormones, key number 4. This is where most people fail when cutting. Why? Because they over-obsess over macros, but they also ignore the micronutrients and hormonal health. Understand that macros are important because they're gonna dictate how your body looks, but micronutrients are going to dictate how your body feels and your performance. And then the calories are going to dictate whether you actually gain weight or lose the weight. So we're only going to focus on a few key micronutrients, vitamins as well. Number 1 being magnesium. So magnesium's role is muscle recovery, insulin sensitivity, stress reduction, cortisol control, sleep quality. Magnesium has been very apparent, especially nowadays in the fitness realm. This is probably one of the most staples you could really use, especially if you sweat a lot in the gym, you're very physically active. Generally, you're going to need a lot more magnesium than the regular average individual. Sources include spinach, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, almonds, supplements like magnesium glycinate, one of my top ones because it's one of the most bioavailable forms of magnesium. Deficiency risk is high, especially when you're dieting and training hard. It can lead to poor sleep, fatigue, and just stalled fat loss. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to keep losing fat. Nobody wants to be a slob. Dosage, anywhere from 300 to 400 milligrams of glycinate right before you go to bed, specifically because it's going to help you with sleep quality. But make sure you always get tested for magnesium deficiency as well. Vitamin D3, essentially important too. The role is it's going to support testosterone, immune function, and mood. And it synergizes with calcium for bone health as well. So it's not even just calcium you need, you also need the vitamin D. Sources include sunlight, but it's also hard to get, especially if you're always indoors, if you have darker skin, if you live in the northern altitudes, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to get the vitamin D3. So in which case we get it from fatty fish, fortified food. Most take, I will say, 5,000 IUs a day via supplement. Always get your blood levels tested, but we could say for a general guideline, dosage is anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 IUs a day for the standard. Next one, omega-3 fatty acids. There's a lot more research, a lot more literature coming out for this specific supplement, and I think it's apparent. Should be one of the most apparent in anyone's diet, really. So the role is anti-inflammatory. It's going to support insulin sensitivity, enhance fat oxidation. A lot of sources include fatty fish, so the salmons, the sardines that you guys see at your local food stores. Fish oil supplements, one of my favorite is Nordic. Anything that's really third-party tested is going to be one of your best ones for tested for purity reasons, and the least amount of heavy metals and toxins. Anywhere from 2 to 3 grams combined of EPA and DHA. This is especially important while cutting because it's going to help regulate leptin. It's going to support brain function, reduce joint pain when lifting, and that's very important for a lot of us, especially as we get older, because we're trying to reduce as much repetitive strain injuries as we can, because I know a lot of us also used to ego lift back in the day, so that's when omega-3s become really important. I know I used to do it. Multivitamin. This is supposed to be kind of like a safety net. It's not a crutch. So we're going to use this to fill in the nutrient gaps when you're lower on calories. Because we're eating less food and less food volume, you're not going to be eating as much micronutrients. This is especially helpful during those long cuts. Tips, I would say choose ones that are third-party tested by NSF certified or Informed Sports. Those are really good ones. I usually just take regular 1 a day men. I think those are great. Centrum, just as a safety net. 1 cap a day with food. Number 5, last but not least, creatine monohydrate. This is going to matter because it's going to help retain muscle and strengthen the calorie deficit. There's a lot more research coming out. This is probably one of the most researched, most studied supplement in the fitness industry to this day. It's going to boost ATP, so you're going to get better performance, better recovery. It's going to support brain function as well, especially if you're dropping your carbs or you're low carb. This is going to help you too with your brain function. And it's not going to make you look bloated. It's going to pull the water into the muscle, creating an intracellular look, and it's not underneath your skin, so it's not subcutaneous. How to use it? 3 to 5 grams a day is really like the sweet spot. Anytime, ideally maybe post-workout for some of you guys. Make sure you stay hydrated with it. Stick with creatine monohydrate because it's the most researched form. Don't go for the other ones. They're just paying more for the same thing. And it may enhance fat loss indirectly because you're also training harder and preserving more lean muscle mass. And we have a specific study where it combined 6 weeks of combined effects from creatine supplementation and resistance on site-specific direct measures on hypertrophy. So the MRI, the CT, or the ultrasound they used in healthy adults. And what they found was really amazing. So they found that creatine supplementation combined, you need to combine this with resistance training, promoted a small increase in the direct measures of skeletal muscle hypertrophy in both the upper and lower body. So I think creatine is one of the most staples. Been taking this for 5 to 10 years. Doesn't matter the product, it doesn't matter the brand, as long as it says creatine monohydrate, that's your go-to. Last key is psychological and dieting fatigue, because this is gonna come up, and it's gonna come up a lot. I'm telling you right now, the harder it becomes mentally, it becomes physically, because you gotta keep that shape. So there's different options we can always do. I would say, one, we could do a structured 1 week diet break. Now, you don't have to do this. This is just for you to take a mental relief, take a physical break. You could do this every 6 weeks. This can possibly help you reset your motivation, reduce the cortisol if you're always stressed too, especially from your job, your work, your kids, your love life, the house, the bills, the credit card. This can help you too immensely. It's gonna help restore leptin and ghrelin levels to a certain extent. You might not be as hungry especially when you get off that week. And it might help you to avoid the I fell off spiral, which most people hit around like maybe 11 to 13% body fat, and then they just end up binging. Remember, fatigue management, it's not really optional here. It's everything. You have to manage your fatigue, especially while you're dieting, because it's gonna get harder and harder the longer you stay on it and the more weeks that go by. Prioritize your fat loss like training. You need to be smart and strategic about it. You can't just do it whenever you want and get off of it whenever you want. You need to have some type of strategy. Push, recover, repeat should be the 3 main things in your head. Push, recover, repeat. Say it with me. Push, recover, repeat. One more time. Push, recover, repeat. Also, as you start dieting down, the last 5 pounds are probably going to require the most amount of discipline, because those are going to be the hardest, and that's going to be really your main focus. Don't quit, especially on those last 5 pounds. I would also reduce food variety to sometimes reduce cravings, but also understand you might reduce the macronutrients, the micronutrients as well. Set strict meal times. So if you're used to eating at 8 a.m., 12 p.m. for lunch, and then 8 o'clock for dinner, try to keep it like that so it doesn't throw off your biological eating times. That's what I normally do, kind of just to keep myself on a disciplined meal path. And then after reaching the 10%, don't just rebound. Don't just start going to Dunkin', the Burger King, the McDonald's, and start going all out on it. That's not why you did this. You did this for you to look great, to feel great, overall health. Gradually add the calories, go back to maintenance, or if you want to add just 100 to 200 calories per week until you get to maintenance, that's another way too. And then maintain your training intensity as well, to just staying lean, because next time you do this and next time around, you're going to get even leaner. It's going to be even easier for you. 10% body fat is more psychological than physical, if anything. Your mindset must be dialed in, because if your mindset isn't good and it's not there, you're not gonna get there. If you can't visually think it in your head, you're never gonna get there. To conclude, getting to 10% isn't easy, but it's doable, especially when we use science and not shortcuts. And I understand getting lean is hard. This isn't supposed to be an all year round thing. It's just supposed to be for a few months. You should always complement it with maintenance months, bulk months. This is not for everybody, but I will tell you this, staying average all the time, every single year, is way harder in the long run. And if you guys still need help, I have my 90-day accelerator program down below. So if you're an overweight male individual looking to lose 20 plus pounds of weight and gain a good amount of muscle, sign up for my program below. I give you the nutrition, the training, and the accountability all in one. And I'll see you soon.